So hello and welcome to the new video. This time I'm playing Last Epoch, the newest season, and I just wanted to have a little bit fun. Now, if you're looking for the build guide for this build, let me just say this very upfront. I'm not the content creator who created this build. This is just gonna be a max roll guide. The first link in the video description. Just click it, watch the video. There's like a lot of explanations and gear progression and so on. So that's like your main thing that you should be like trying to get your like information from that build guide. So here's a fair warning when you're going to be committing yourself to this build. The build requires you to be quite active. You have to move on quite often and attack and leech, because your reaper form is constantly draining your life. To maintain that, you have to be attacking and leeching. That's how you maintain it. If you're one of those people who just like pick up an item and you want to be wandering around what to do with it, or like those kind of things, this probably build is not for you, as the build actually required to be very active, move on all the time, and keep on attacking and leeching. So be warned, that's the playstyle of this build. Well, if you're happy with the playstyle of the build that you want to be actively playing, so you have to split this build in the two phases. There's like a starter version that you have to refer to the max roll. You're gonna be playing like a bleed poison because you don't have the gloves that converts everything to bleeding. Because the gloves, you can start using them from 81, and then there's like an end game one when you actually you can start using the gloves from level 81. And after you start using the gloves, yeah, the build just gets a lot of damage, and overall I would say the build is not the greatest in like fighting the bosses and the single target damage. But since you're very tanky, most of the time when I was holding my right click and just face tanking all of the bosses. Obviously I'm still low on the corruption, so that's a thing. So here's a couple tips and tricks that I learned after playing the build up to like a level 87, and I'm starting my harbingers, so I'm not that far, but here's a couple things. Firstly, I'm using the crab ring because I want swiftness and I want to stack as much as movement speed as I can, because in faster I'm moving, then it's much easier to sustain the reaper form. So movement speed is your best advice. Now, another thing is, since I'm using the crab ring, I don't have the the evade button, so I swap my one of my skill buttons, E with space, so my transport, my teleport is on my space bar, so I can spam it, because I was constantly pressing spacebar to move a little bit faster. But since I'm spawning crabs now, so what I did is I swapped my spacebar with E, so whenever I press accidentally E, I'll just spawn a crab. But most of the time I only use between Q and W, so I never pressed R only one time, just to to trigger the aura on start of the map, and I never actually pressed it again. So my main focus only is between Q and W. If you're wondering whether you change the key bindings, you go to options, change output, and there you have it. That's your key bindings. That's just like a me thing. Maybe you don't need that, so that's like an optional thing. Another thing is, early on when you're gonna be doing the starter build, like with the poison, you're gonna be struggling to keep your reaper form. One thing that I found out, how to sustain it a little bit more, especially when you're gonna be moving from one pack to another. You can use potions. This will extend your reaper form because you're gaining HP, and this will give you like a bit of a more sustain until you get to the next pack and you can start attacking and leeching. Now I will show you my gear in my idols as well, but you should always refer to the Maxwell guide, as personally I'm using that as well, just to for the reference. But there's like a couple things that I did change because I don't have those like very expensive red rings, so I'm using the crab ring, and I have like a very good weaver ring. Then this is the stuff. It has this you know, the same like in the build guides. Helmet needs to improve, a lot of improvement. The armor, I was quite lucky to get like a very decent roll. Titan head, I need to like still slam it. The belt still needs a slam, boots needs a slam. The relic needs a slam as well, because mine is a crappy one. This is quite good, actually, so it's not so bad. My others are mostly elemental resistance and like, you know, because I need to cap it somehow, so that's pretty much it.